Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Show, formerly known as the Paranormal Guys. We are live on all the socials. Please come over to the YouTubes and join us in the chat. We have a great chat. We have Chris is already here. Welcome, Chris. Couple things. We want to make sure our Australian listeners do come over and join the chat, because tonight with our authors, you're going to want to ask questions, and you can ask them directly if you're in the chat. And of course, while you're here, hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up and all that. Some housekeeping for my other show real quick. We will be back on Monday. We've taken a bit of a sabbatical, and I will be back in Georgia. Yay. Let me bring out my lovely and beautiful sidekick and co-host, always on my right side there. I've got to keep her there. So how are you, Jen?
I'm good. And if you switch me to the other side, then I get confused. And
totally confuses you. So, well, as always, we have a couple great guests tonight. Catherine Astl, I hope I pronounce it right. She has written several books about the Smoky Mountains and the heritage, and specifically, what I was interested in was Moonshine. Let's bring her out here and have a little chat with her. Hello, Catherine. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great tonight. So happy to be here.
We're glad you're here. Welcome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, because you've written many books, besides for the ones about the good old Mountain Dew.
Exactly. Yes. I've been a writer my entire life. I've always wanted to be a writer. I kind of have a zigzag way of getting to where I'm writing my Smoky Mountain historical fiction now. In a nutshell, I wrote a couple of paralegal books. I've written a couple of novels, just mainstream novels. I had a column in a magazine. But about 5-6 years ago, I started to concentrate on Smoky Mountain historical fiction. And that is exactly where I'm going to stay, I think, forever, because I love it. And it's in my heart and soul and my own personal heritage.
When you were doing your research, did it kind of, was there things that you're like, well, I'm not camping there?
No, I'm pretty open. And I've kind of heard about all these stories and superstitions and, sprinklings of moonshine throughout my life from my own father's side of the family, who comes from the Smokies from the 1700s. They came from Scotland, the Scots-Irish. And so, no, I'm always extremely curious. And if it's true, it's going in my books.
I like that. I like the fictionalized like when you can fictionalize history, because you weren't actually there. Like you couldn't meet these people, but you're basing your story on these people, so you have to kind of improvise their personalities, or like you said before the show, you were talking about like their dialogue and stuff, because you weren't there with a microphone, like listening to them. So
right, but I do. But I study Appalachian dialects. To get it right, because I'm very heavily researched. I heavily research my books, and I want to get everything as right as possible. Then I also have my family, and like they would never say, I think this is going to be a great day. They would say, reckon it's going to be a great day, y'all. I mean, that's how they talk, and that's how they talk. So again, that's going in my book. It has to be authentic.
Yes.
The stories were real, the characters were real. So you just had to improvise. Now, how did some of these I found so interesting? It was a different era. People were just shooting each other because they could. I mean, I guess we're still doing that.
Just because they could.
What's a different, you know what I mean? We still do it. But it was a different time back then. How did you find the stories of, Uncle Tom was shot by Bill the neighbor, or how did you find that?
Well, again, heavy research, but specifically, I use the University of Tennessee archives. They are fantastic. They have a lot of memoirs, a lot of accounts, photographs, all of those things about the real people who lived in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park before it became a park. That's where I really concentrate. But my characters and the real people and events, but it's really a whole Southern Appalachian lifestyle culture that are kind of infused in my books. But the people, they are real, and you can really visit. This is the cool thing. You could visit their cabins and churches and barns today in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. You can really walk inside the cabins that are inside, that I talk about in my books.
Yeah,
So
that is so cool.
brought to life.
Yeah.
So you said that you used a lot, like you were talking about your family and stuff. Is there members of your family that you kind of drew inspiration for in this story?
Yes, especially like their stories and the way they talk and the way they would have acted. They were, most of them, maybe not the Moonshiners so much, but most of them are very deeply religious. They were rooted to their land, but everything, I find this inspirational. Everything had meaning. Like you went out and you tended your fields. That had meaning, because otherwise you would die. You would starve to death. So everything had a good purpose and a meaning, which I think is missing in our modern world.
Yes. Community.
Yes.
Community.
Absolutely.
Sense of, they were very individualistic, highly, freedom loving, people, but they also had a strong sense of community. And again, I love that. I think that's lacking. And I would love to, bring that all. I would love the lessons of these people to jump off the page into modern life.
One thing you said that really struck home is whenever a bullet would be fired and they'd hear the gunshot, the neighbors would be like, okay, that was from his ranch or farm or whatever.
Exactly.
Even as a paramedic working in East Tennessee, it hasn't changed that much in some of these rural communities. It really hasn't.
Yeah, it's true. The people could definitely identify the rifles by their hearing, and you speaking of, kind of not spooky things, but luck, good luck and bad luck. Did you know that in the Smoky Mountains, you had to name your rifle? Otherwise it was bad luck.
No, I
didn't know that. That's cool.
And the most famous rifle is a real rifle. It was called Old Death, and it was owned by Black Bill Walker. They called him that because he was a blacksmith, and he also had kind of a swarthy complexion. But he had a rifle, and it was called Old Death. He made it himself, which is very cool. And people, I think the rifle was probably more famous than the man himself. But the man, just in a nutshell, I wrote a book about him. He had 3 wives at the same time in 1800s Tennessee. And he stopped counting at 26 children.
What?
Yes, exactly. He was
doing the math. Each wife had.
So he was also, he took care of everybody. Each wife had their own house, their own garden. So they weren't like all collective, although they sort of were, but they each had their own space, which I think is maybe one of the secrets. But getting back to rifles, my personal favorite name of a rifle is called Persuader.
I like that.
That's my favorite.
That's more of a verb than a noun, though.
It sounds like something Clint Eastwood would call his business.
I know. Meet Persuader. I love it.
My grandpa got his cane and he named it. He called it Grandkid Poker. I wonder what he would name his rifle. I don't think my grandpa gave his rifle a name.
Oh, yeah, bad luck.
I had never heard that.
Yeah, you have to give your rifle a name. Old Tom, Long Tom, Old Death, Persuader, Big Blue, all of those. Those are real names, by the way.
That's crazy. I will ask some of my friends that are in law enforcement here if they still carry on that tradition.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Now that I think about it, because I do airsoft, so I have an airsoft rifle. I wonder if I should give that a name.
You absolutely should. It will bring you good luck. That's a lesson straight from the Smoky Mountains, by the way.
I want to see a picture of you in camo with it so badly.
Oh, I do. I have them. I have a picture of me with that. I have a vest on. I have my airsoft rifle. I've got my face mask, and yeah. First time I went out. Sorry, off topic, but first time I went out doing airsoft, I got hit. And of course, you're supposed to call your hits. You're like, hit. And I stand up in the middle of like, we're back and forth. And I was like, hit, stand up, hit. Got hit right here. And then the guy steps out. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
didn't mean to shoot a girl.
In the throat. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's great. I learn something new about you every week. Well, out of all the history you've dug up, you've even written some Christmas stuff. What was your favorite out of all of them? And what's your favorite Appalachian tale?
Oh my goodness, that is a hard one. So I've written 7 Smoky Mountain books so far. I'm of course working on my next one. My favorite, my first book called Oliver's Crossing, a novel of Cades Cove. I love that one because it's when John Oliver and his wife, Lucretia, or Lorraine is what they called her, showed up. They had absolutely nothing. They showed up and they staked out their land. Back in those days, there was no land deeds. You just said, this is my land. I'm going to build on it. And they saw the woods in front of them. They had to clear land. They had nothing but seeds and maybe, some tools, and that was it. So I think that was my favorite. Just it's so daunting to me to show up in the wilderness and then have to create your home. And he went on to found Cades Cove, which is the most visited site in the most visited national park in America. And he actually created a whole community. Stores, churches, schools, roads, an entire community of almost 1,000 people at one point.
Wow.
And
he must have been pretty popular.
Yeah, and outside of these people would never have been known really if the national park hadn't come in and said to their descendants, hey, you've got to get out for the national park. Yeah. We'll pay you a little bit, but you got to get out.
Didn't pay much. Did you ever do a story about Uncle Lem?
Oh my gosh, yes. Uncle Lem Ownby. Yes, the blind beekeeper. In fact, right here, What the Mountains Gave Them is my new book, and it's all about Elkmont, where Uncle Lem was. I love Uncle Lem. Yes, and Levi Trentham I've done, but Uncle Lem, yes, he was famous.
My mom has a painting downstairs right here on her wall of Uncle Lem that was taken. I can't remember the name of the artist. It was a popular artist taken in front of his home. So
I have that. I wrote about that in my book.
I'm going to have to get you to get a copy to Mom. So.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, Uncle Lem, he's famous. He was a simple man, but it's simple, but so wise. And he was pretty much blind his whole life. So imagine living in a rustic, rural environment, blind. And he saw so many changes in Elkmont. He saw the end of logging and the railroad come in, and it turning into a resort town where Tennessee Williams and Clarence Darrow, after the Scopes monkey trial, they went to visit there. So a lot of famous things happening in Elkmont.
Yeah, and then Dolly ruined it. So I can say that I'm from here.
Yes, absolutely, you can.
I think she helped make it famous.
I love Dolly, but yes, I know what reasons. It's I love my Smoky Mountains because it's I was going to say it's untouched. Of course, it's not. Gatlinburg is huge. It's touristy, but when you go into the park, you feel like it's untouched. This is what John Oliver would have seen. This is what Lem Ownby would have, not really seen, but heard the creaks and kind of saw the shadows. This is what they would have
Air.
seen. Yes.
Yeah. And it is the most popular. I haven't in a long time, but there's the motor trail? You can go drive through the entire
motor trail. Yes.
Yep. And I haven't done that in a long time. And then during the fall, they shut it down, and you can do it on hay rides.
Yes.
So it's gorgeous.
That's wonderful, and that's such a history too. You go and see those cabins and the tub mills, and the corn cribs, and you could really walk back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I've been going there my entire life, the Smoky Mountains National Park, and I'm very thankful that my parents took me there, and my dad's side of the family comes from that area. So I just fell in love with it at an early age. And I'm just very humbled and thankful that I can contribute to, keeping that history alive.
Sounds like there's a lot of history. I'm not from, I've not heard a lot of the names, like some of the names. I was like, oh yeah, I know that name and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of history that I need to read up on.
You look at the mountains and they seem so peaceful, and they're just wave after wave of blue mountains. And then you get to know the stories and you're like, wow, it wasn't so peaceful sometimes.
I grew up in a different set of mountains, but I get it.
A lot that happened.
Yeah. Like you said, they started from just cottages and cabins to whole towns. And some, were, depending on the people, are a little rougher than others.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's humans are humans. There's good, there's bad, there's everything in between. I don't care where you are.
Yeah.
Or what era you're in. Yeah, there's we only have, there's so many types and personalities. I see them every year. I'm a teacher, so I see the types every year. A high school teacher and college, and they're same types.
Yeah. I like how you put the difference between Cades Cove and Chestnut Flats.
Chestnut Flats.
Yeah.
So Chestnut Flats was a little, what they call a suburb, so to speak, of Cades Cove, but it was down there. It was swampier. There was never more than like 50 people. But they did not play nice with others. Don't ask them to. They're not going to do it. Ain't going to do it. They ain't going to do it. And that's that. But you have to also respect that they didn't ask for anything from anybody. And they loved that freedom of theirs, and they held on to it with a passion. And you know what? A lot of them didn't make it work. But a lot of them did. And they just were like, I'm living my life on my own terms. And there's something about that you just have to honor.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you did a wonderful job of weaving the tales in with the liquor tales. A lot of people don't realize when they think about moonshine isn't just a Southern thing. It's in all parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Different names, of course.
Yeah.
But moonshine typically was from the Scots and the Irish that came over here.
Mm-hmm.
But the Indians prior to that already had a version. So
absolutely, yes. There's a saying, let me see if I can get it right. When the English came over here, came over to America, they would build a church. When the Germans came over, they'd build a barn. When the Scottish came over, they'd build a still.
I was like, I know where you're going with this.
Yes. It was something like that. I might have gotten it wrong a little bit, but yeah, basically. So yeah, you are right. And also there's some stories that the monks, from centuries ago were really the ones that made it for the first time. Well, the Irish and the Scots are still fighting over that one. But yes, it's called different things. And basically moonshine has become the word synonymous with illegal, untaxed alcohol.
Yeah.
And of course it has, it's not aged in barrels. It remains clear, and it has a very high alcohol content.
Yeah, can't drink much. So.
No.
Well, I
But
can't.
I cannot. But
I can't.
remember, it was
yeah.
also yes, it was also used as medicine. It was very medicinal for a lot of things. So it does have its good parts definitely as well. It was a way to make money.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this before about they drank so much wine in the biblical times because that was a best way to preserve like their water, like to keep it clean.
Yeah, their water was no good, so they had to drink something. And their food wasn't very good, really. So that alcohol, it kind of kills everything and keeps everything,
or makes them forget that
yes,
food is so bad.
And if it doesn't,
you didn't tell Maul that. You didn't tell Maul that the food wasn't that great. But you're right. Even now living in Atlanta, I've learned a lot of Atlanta history. Coca-Cola was originally a medicine by a pharmacist that actually had cocaine in it. So they all kind of did it. So.
They just made it sweet so that it'd be palatable.
Yeah.
The little you have to ease all the troubles of life somehow.
Have something fun going on.
Yeah.
There was no television or internet back then. So yeah.
That's his famous saying in the Smokies. You got to make your own fun.
Yes.
I mean, if you throw a rock as far as you can, skipping rocks in the creek, you got to make your own fun because there's nothing else out there. Yep.
My actual favorite soft drink, Mountain Dew, was, if you go back in history, it was made to cut moonshine because it was so strong.
And they even called moonshine Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
And
Mountain Dew.
like a mountain mule kick, it gives you a kick like a mule. Rock gut, white lightning. There's a lot of names for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize, even in some of the wars, Civil War, the Revolutionary War, George Washington, he spent some time growing up in Washington, D.C. area. Don't claim it now after yesterday. But you got that. But he liked to make apple brandy, and he would give his troops, if they were good, they got to drink like a pint of apple brandy. That's how we got our freedom right there, by God.
Yeah. Well, it's, it is said, I don't know if this is true, but it is said that there's hardly a soldier that goes into battle that hasn't, had something. It's how courage. You have to have that Dutch courage, and
they call it liquid courage.
Yeah, liquid courage.
Yeah.
It gives you, it eases things. Yeah.
Well, they used to give people, like drink before they do pull your teeth or, cut off your leg.
Yes.
Amputation.
Shot.
Yeah, or shot. Yes. Oh, yeah. Drink as much moonshine as possible. Pass out, and they used to use that in the Smokies for amputations. That's
because it's sterilized. Drink it to make yourself feel better, and then sterilize the wound. Little for you, little for the wound.
Yes.
Sorry.
There were actually wars about moonshine. So
yes, moonshine wars.
Yeah. George Washington had us quell an uprising in his time because of it too. So
it is quite amazing.
All about alcohol. There is a lot of history about alcohol.
A lot.
It really is. We also put the symbolism in there of like the animals and stuff too. Because
I was gonna say
back then they were. What's the right word I want? They believed in spirit animals. They believed in bad luck, omens. I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but they always saw something that perhaps
very spiritual.
Very. So all of my books have an animal in it. Only one is not a bird. The History of Gatlinburg, that novel, I have a deer in there. But every other book I have a bird, and it's for a few reasons. One, it's a nod to the Cherokee who were there before, and two, yes, it's people were so attuned to the land and nature. They could read the trees, they could
Mhm.
read the soil, read the animals. Lem Ownby, he could, he talked to the bees and he could read or actually hear the bees. If they were buzzing loud, it was for a certain reason and he knew it. So, it's kind of like it's a nod to the natural world. And it also it serves as an omniscient narrator, these birds, because you going back in time, but sometimes I kind of, go forward in time. And I don't want to just say, I don't want it to read like a history book. So the birds, the animals are kind of the all-seeing narrator that I think works pretty well, in maybe seeing things that maybe the humans don't see, and seeing things into the future that the reader will get to know without, maybe getting out of the time period that they're in. So, and I love birds. They're only
Couldn't
the
tell.
birds that would actually be found in the Smokies during that time period. So, so I like, actually, that's kind of a spooky thing, is the bird idea, for like symbolism, came to me in a dream.
Oh,
I know it's weird, but not on this show. I have what I call prophetic dreams. I had it my whole life. And, titles, birds, symbolism, they come to me in my dreams. And the mountains dictate some of their stories to me as well. I know it sounds a little weird, but I really feel that.
That doesn't sound weird at
it
all.
doesn't. I was gonna say
Thank
it
you.
doesn't sound weird to me at all.
Well, with that being said, though, now do you sit down after a dream and write everything down and you have a plan for your book, or do you sit down and channel it from here to the keyboard?
If I have a dream like that, I will go directly to the keyboard and write down a whole bunch of, stuff. As far as planning my books, yes, I since it's historical fiction, it's all history and all true. I call my outlines my timelines. So it's really just begins with the timeline. I usually start pretty chronologically. Where does the story start?
Mhm.
Some of the books I start a little bit later. Um, like my Christmas Serenades book, it's all about the tradition of Christmas serenading in Appalachia. Um, and that starts in 1912. I have it right here. 19, I'm sorry, 1925. I read so many books, I forgot. 1925. And I had to set it there because I wanted enough history to have happened already to have created those traditions. So, but basically, I have a timeline. I research the events, I research the people, and it's a very rough. And then I just suddenly I say, okay, I've got to get started, and I just start writing. It could be very bad writing at first,
Rough drafts are always like
very, but at least I have the idea, and I go through 10, 12, 15 revisions and editing and
Mhm.
adding and polishing, before I say, "You know what? This is the best I can do." And only when I say that does it get out there in the world.
When so you're doing all this research, you're basing it off of historical fiction, or sorry, historical characters and events and stuff. Where do you draw the line between staying strictly true and the narrative,
That's
creating it as like an engaging story?
Right, because otherwise it would just be a history book, right?
Yeah,
Um, well, that is, the best thing about historical writing, and it's also the worst. So the best thing is you already have the story, you already have the
true.
characters, you already have what happened and the conflicts and everything. So that's sort of the easy part. But the hard part is finding out, well, what were these people all about? Sometimes you have little snippets. Sometimes you have a lot of information. Sometimes you have almost nothing. So you really have to sit with it and say, what would they have actually said? What would they have actually done in this situation? And that just comes from, again, heavy research and knowing the subject really well. Other research from other people, research in the era that it was in, like what was happening in the 1850s in America versus, in the Smoky Mountains. So I like to kind of draw that contrast in my books because they're like, oh, the big cities and the factories and everything's happening, but you're here in a little cabin in the woods, no electric, no restroom, no outhouse, nothing. You go in the woods. So that's the difficult part, is bringing them to life when you don't maybe have a whole lot of information.
So you get to build their personalities, because I mean that's not something that history really records.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They record some of it, like Lem Ownby. There's a pretty good record of his personality. And Black Bill, there's a pretty good record of his personality, but it's not everything. So you have to, like one of my questions was, how did he manage 3 households every day? So that I had to kind of say, okay, well, he would, visit Nancy in the morning and visit, Molly later in the day. And I kind of had to think of like what he would actually do. So that is made up. But I try to really stay true to what they really probably would have done and said. But it's hard.
It is, yeah, you got to put yourself in that, almost like in that place and time, and like see things from there. And I don't know, I would have, for myself, I would have a hard time putting myself in that position. I was like, okay, I've got these 3 wives, and they,
Exactly. And here I am, a woman writing about a guy that has 3 wives. And, you get into the, but I always like the why. Why did he have 3 wives? How did other people see him and think of him?
What do you switch perspectives, or is it like mostly from the, so
and
what would the wives
word
think?
helps me do that. What did the wives think? Exactly. So I have their perspective in there, and really you think, oh, I know what kind of guy this was, but it's not that way at all. He was a good guy. He took care of everybody. I loved him. I love him. I really do. I loved writing his story. I think he was amazing and inspirational. And here in the late 1800s in Tennessee, here's this lifestyle going on. And Black Bill Walker, made Walker Valley, which is now Tremont in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And he left quite a legacy.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
And his rifle, Old Death, which is now in the Great Smoky Mountains Heritage Center in Townsend, Tennessee. It's on display.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look for that.
Yeah.
So if a person sorry.
No, go ahead.
So if a person like me who's never been there before, and I want to go there and I want to start checking out this history and stuff, where would you recommend a person starting?
Oh, okay. So it's always start at the visitor centers in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
I'm sure there's a few of them, though.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I would start with Sugarlands. That's north, and that's right in Gatlinburg, basically.
Okay.
And then personally, I would go to Cades Cove. Yeah, it's the most visited site, and it's about an hour drive. It's like 30-ish miles, but the winding mountain roads, you can't go too fast. And it's a beautiful drive, but you go and it's an 11-mile loop, and it kind of follows the actual road that was once there. And you could go in the John Oliver original cabin. Now it has been slightly moved and restored and everything, but you could at least get a sense of their lives. and they have their churches and their graveyards. In fact, they're buried there. You can see their graves. And I just think that is a wonderful way to cherish and honor the culture and the people, their families, that had to leave because the park came through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sad.
I know. Imagine that. You've lived there for, you've lived there for 112, 115-ish years, your generations and generations. You have your fields, you have your deceased loved ones in the church up the road. They're like, what's going to happen to them? Thank goodness they preserved the churches and the graveyards. But it's just, even if you didn't know any of that, it's just really cool to go walking through a cabin and looking at the corn crib and the barn and saying, how would I do out here? What would it be like? Isn't that all of history? What would it be like to live here during this time period? And you really get a taste of that. And I think that is wonderful. And I always see, and I love animals. You see bear and deer and turkeys and a coyote. Coyotes are there. So it's just beautiful. I mean, beyond the human.
I had an off-topic question. Do you guys call them coyotes or do you call them coyotes?
Well, I call them coyotes, but
Okay.
I've heard of coyotes, like coyotes, Yeah, I call them coyotes. Yeah, exactly. Probably in the South in Tennessee.
I can turn it on when I need to.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that.
I was like, say that again, Glenn.
But hey, I'm in Florida now, so coyotes.
I've been arguing with them here lately. So.
We get a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we get a lot of them where I'm at, and I'll hear them. I had some follow me home on a walk, and I'm throwing snowballs at them, like, go away. And I'm like, wow, they're not getting enough bunnies.
Really?
They're coming after me.
But yeah, that natural, the animals, the sheer beauty of the Smoky Mountains. And they're some of the oldest mountains on Earth. They're very softly scalloped. They're not, peaked. And I just find it just beautiful.
Yes. Now, are you going to advance history any to where the generations were moved down out of the mountains and into the valleys, and then Tennessee Valley Authority came over and flooded their whole town? Are you going to do anything with that? It's true stories. It's true stories.
Well,
I mean, there's actually in Union County, right up the road here, there's an entire ghost town still in the town, and there's an entire town that is underwater. And several times a year, when the water is down, you can still see parts of it.
Yeah.
And the Tennessee Valley Authority came through the Department of Engineering, Army Engineering, and they were like, well, we've got to keep all that water from the Floridians, so they dammed it up, and we need electricity. That was kind of what it started with. But
took me a second there when you said Floridians. I was like, what are they, from another planet? I was thinking that. I was like, oh right, they're from Florida. Floridians. Yeah.
It depends on who you talk to.
But they did. They brought them down, and then a couple generations later, they took their land again and flooded it.
I know. There's so many stories. It's a possibility. I never say no. There's so many stories out there, and people send me stories all the time. Like, hey, did you hear about this guy? Or hey, did you hear about this family? Or I have a story to tell. And I'm like, oh, that is wonderful. So I have a whole, files full of stories.
Have you thought about expanding beyond the Rocky Mountains, where I grew up, Smoky Mountains? Yeah,
I have, but at the moment, I'm also deeply rooted in there because I have plans for probably 5 to 10 more books from the Smokies, and I hope I don't run out of lifetime. But
now,
I would love.
Are these standalones, or are they part of a series?
They are standalone, so you don't have to read them in any special order. You could read just one, but really together they do form what I call a tapestry of Appalachian life and Smoky Mountain life. So if you read them all together, they kind of, the people connect because they did.
Okay.
they visited one another, not too often, but they did. They knew of one another. So I do kind of link it where I can, if it's true. If it's
Yeah.
not true, then forget it. But it was true, and but they are standalones. But I'm so passionate about the subject that I would say if you're interested in the subject, if you want to have the real sense of life in the Smokies, in the early 1800s all the way up to probably 1950s, 60s, then definitely read these books.
So was your shift from because you said you were a paralegal for 27 years?
Yeah.
Was this like a gradual shift to becoming an author, or did it just you're done?
Oh,
And
no.
I'm an author now.
Well, it was I've been an author my whole life, so I'm kind of like two trains running down the tracks. But
And they
this train was the writing, and this train was okay, I've got to make a living, and then it's like 10 plus whatever years ago, you reach a certain age and you want to align the life. So I went back and got my degrees and became a teacher, actually, because I loved reading and writing. So I became an English teacher and I loved it, and I still am. And but I'm kind of getting more towards writing now. So I'm hoping, of course, to do that full time one day. But it was gradual. I kind of I struggled to find my place in the writing world. The whole write what you know. I wrote what I knew. The paralegal stuff, the paralegal magazine column did well. I wrote some speeches and I wrote like a lot of opening and closing arguments for the lawyers and all of that. But then I said, I always felt the pull of the Smokies, and I always said, I'm going to write a story one day about the people who live there, because I've been visiting that cabin my entire life, and I am interested in their story. And I just started reading books about them, and I realized there's books out there, but there's not like historical fiction that really brings it to life.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm going to do that. So I did. Yep.
Did anybody? Go ahead.
No, I was just
you
going to
go
say,
ahead.
how often do you get back to Tennessee?
Oh, I'm sorry?
How often do you get back to Tennessee?
Oh, I go at least once a year, if not a few times a year. Mm-hmm. I usually stay in Gatlinburg, and I go straight to the park, to the national park. And, we love our picnicking, and we do horseback riding, and we play in the creeks, and I skip the rocks, and I just I'm home. Like home, one of my books is Home of the Soul, about the Walker sisters. And my soul feels at home in the mountains. It really does. You can't explain it. It's the air, it's the nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's the beauty, it's everything, but I really feel at home in the mountains.
I feel it too, and I go back to the Rockies.
That's awesome. And the Rockies are gorgeous. I've been there too, and I've skied out in Colorado, and their mountains are just, there's
just something makes you feel very small, but also connected.
Yes.
Yeah. But ours are, they're not the smooth mountains like you're talking about. They're like, glaciers. Like when I moved from British Columbia to Alberta, and I was in, I was still young, that, whenever I drew pictures and stuff, all the mountains had like glaciers on the top, and all the kids are like, what is on the top of that? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're in Alberta, you don't see them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel the pull. And it's funny you say that. Just a quick story. On one of my books, Christmas Serenades, my book designer, and like, hey, I want the Smoky Mountains, and they did like these mountains. I said, no. They have to be softly. They're Smoky Mountains. They're not the Rocky Mountains. Here's the picture. Here's a picture of the difference. And it took me like 5 times. They just couldn't get it. They were like, but they're mountains. I'm like, no.
But they're not the same.
Different. They're not the same. They are not the same. The Alps are different from the Rockies, and they're different from the Smokies.
It's like saying a basset hound and a greyhound are this. they're both dogs, but no, they're
Right.
different. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had to really instill, they're like, no, readers don't care. I'm like, oh no, I write historical fiction. If my mountains aren't
needs
right,
to.
well, what are they going to think of me? It has to be right. So it was a little bit of a fight.
No, that's for sure.
They have to be the right mountains.
Have you ever been to the Green Mountain in Vermont? The Green Mountains?
I have, yes.
Oh my God. I had never been there. 2-3 years ago, my son moved up there, and me and my best friend were helping him move, and we were coming up after him. And when we crossed into Vermont, now he's from Blue Ridge, and of course I'm from East Tennessee, Smokies. And when we stopped, I mean, we were literally like stopped. We're like, wow.
Yeah.
It is the most incredible, with the sun hitting it just right. It is an emerald green. I love the Smokies. Don't get me wrong.
Window screen green.
I mean, I literally, and I've seen the Colorado Rockies. I've been out to Mount Shasta, been out, all out there. But those were the ones, aside from the Smokies, that actually made me stop. I mean, like dead in my tracks. They were so gorgeous. So 2 places you got to go, Jen. You go to Cades, Cove, and Green Mountains before you check out. So, but you
got a long time to go. I gotta see. We took a trip out to. I don't know if you've ever heard of Turtle Mountain. It was a mountain that they were mining, and then the mountain gave way, and it buried the town.
Oh.
And they still haven't excavated all of it. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I was like, I went walking through there through Horseshoe Canyon, which is below the mountain, and there's boulders the size of SUVs.
Wow.
Because basically the whole, like the face of the mountain just came down on top of the town.
Wow.
Yeah.
What part of the world was that?
It's not that far from where I live, somewhere in Alberta.
Turtle Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's in Alberta. Don't go quote me on that, but Turtle Mountain. But there was history there too. So,
and that's what I was about to say. Almost all the mountains have some type of history. Not all of it's recorded. I mean, like some are more famous, like the when we started moving to the West, obviously, with the Western era and stuff, the Rockies and all that. But all of the hills have eyes. They all have tails.
Oh yes.
The people that created them, not created them, but created
they have tails, ears, noses. Sorry. There's a lot of First Nation history with a lot of the nature and stuff too. So I love that you kind of had that bird, the watcher and stuff, because there's a lot of First Nation, and I was in school because you learn a lot about it, and there was a lot of stories about animals and nature and watching and connection, and it's just it all spoke to me.
Yeah, in fact, and they really did believe that, and it was for their survival too. You had to read, the weather, the sky. You had to read
migrations.
What if you saw, all of a sudden there's no animals, there's no birds, that means something.
Yeah, you better hightail it out of there.
Exactly.
They know more than we do.
Yes. So it was a survival. But yes, they learned to see things that we would never see. We would never recognize that, but they definitely recognize that. And in fact, that's one of the things I love researching is what they recognized in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, without the distractions of, cell phones and television and all that stuff, there is probably a lot more that they could focus on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And that's also, that's an interesting point, because in all the memoirs, all the accounts, the books, everything I've read, I've never really encountered somebody that was bored.
Yeah.
You can't be. There's always something to do on a farm. Always.
Yeah, there's no time to be bored. Like exactly. I grew up on a farm, and if you don't say you're bored, or your grandpa goes send you out to the field to pick up sticks.
They will find something for you to do.
Yes.
But yeah, they were just never bored. And some people, I've come across their memoirs, they were restless and they wanted like the bigger life. They wanted to move to the big city, things like that, of course. But generally, a lot of the people really loved where they were, and they did recognize that they were in a very beautiful place, and they did appreciate it, and they just they loved their lifestyle. Yeah.
When you think about that, like going there and seeing things and stuff, I know I've never been afraid of like the animals that you'd see, because you're talking about like bears, coyotes, or coyotes. We have mountain lions up here. We have grizzlies as well. I've never been afraid of animals. I'm more afraid of people in the mountains and in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a little gun, so.
Yeah, that's true. I have a healthy respect for the animals, of course.
Yeah.
Never get too
Oh, yeah.
close.
You're not going to go up and try to pet that grizzly.
No. Oh, my gosh. People are just crazy. Like, the tourists are insane.
Selfies with the black bears.
They actually just passed a law in Tennessee about that.
Yes, they sure did.
Because they had to put too many bears down because of stupid people.
And that's terrible.
Yeah, they should put the people down.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm all for them. Seriously. But yeah, it's sad. And, and I love the animals too. That's one of my favorite things. Like, oh, let's, go to the evening drive in Cades Cove. And you always see tons of wildlife in the evening, in the mornings too. But evening is just beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Catherine, one thing we love to talk about here, spooky stuff. So have you got any spooky stories, and specifically any East Tennessee or Tennessee spooky stories?
Yes. So talking about moonshine. So moonshiners, they have a lot of, superstitions, and they have a lot of, a lot of lore and, all of that. And they say, in fact, let's see. Let me think of one. Yes. So they say there's red holler moonshine. There's the story of drinkers, and they see things in their cups. Now you might think, oh, okay, that's the moonshine talking. But sometimes, some of the moonshiners actually never drank at all. They just made it so they can just make money. But if you, look in the tin cup, sometimes if you have certain moonshine, you could see things in your cup. Like prophecy.
Like not like tea readings, but like actually reflected in the liquid.
Yeah, like reflections and kind of like tea readings, like prophecies and all that. And also there's been a lot of superstitions and tales about moonshiners waking up in the morning and finding wet footprints in their homes or by their stills. So that's kind of a common thing. But, like Elkmont, we were talking about earlier with Uncle Lem, that's called today, it's called the ghost town of the Smokies. Yes. And because, it's an abandoned town, but back in the day when they had the famous Wonderland Hotel there was kind of a story that went around that said, okay, at 3:00 every day, the spirits come and they blow a strong wind through the whole town, and you could feel it on the balcony of the Wonderland Hotel. And people really believed that. And I went to the site, and I was there around 3:00, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder if I'm going to feel a wind. I did feel a wind. Now, was it the spirits coming alive? I don't know, but I did feel a wind, and, I was like, oh, wow, that's the past. That's the mountains talking to me. So I loved it. But and then there's, a lot of superstitions, like if you have a sore throat, you tie a sock around your throat, not too tight, and in the morning you'll wake up and you're fine.
Don't whistle in the woods.
That's right. Put an axe under the bed of a childbirth bed, and everything will be fine. And
something
if you
have onions,
garlic, of course. And let's see, if you have a really bad fever, rub the soles of your feet with chicken. Clears it up every time.
I've heard of that one.
Yes, true. So,
I didn't do chicken. I was putting Vicks on my kids' feet.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's chicken.
I know, but I'm not putting chicken on their feet. They sucked their toes when they were that age. I'm not going to do that.
I know, right? So yeah, just full of superstitions and lore, and it's very fascinating. Appalachia has such a, or Appalachia, however you want to say it, has such a deep, like I said, it's a whole culture in and of its own, and it has such deep lore and superstitions and stories that I just find fascinating, and I love writing about it.
Any chance of writing a spooky book?
There's a big chance.
Ooh, come out around Halloween? All right.
Maybe.
We're going to make sure you come back and tell us about that. So.
All right, for sure. The spookiest things could probably be in my newest book. It's called What the Mountains Gave Them, and it's all about the prophet of the Smokies, Levi Trentham and Lem Ownby. And it has, those spooky things like at 3:00 every day, the breeze comes through. So yeah, there's spooky things and definitely superstition sprinkled throughout the books, all of my books.
I love it.
Yes.
Now, one thing I want to make sure we get you time in here, because obviously you want to sell your books and you came on here. I will put everything in the show notes, but tell everybody how they can find you if they want to order a book, maybe an autographed one, or if they got a story they want to relate to you, and tell us about that.
And I welcome any of that. I love that. So you could find me really anywhere books are sold. Of course, Amazon is the king, right? I mean, they do support authors, which is wonderful. So I would say the best place is Amazon. I have ebook, print version, but you can also find my books in a lot of stores up in the Smoky Mountains. My favorite is Moon Pie General Store and Book Warehouse. Mm-hmm. Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Love them. They're wonderful people. And I really appreciate their support. They carry all of my books. And you can, get them at Barnes and Noble. I'm trying to get them in the visitor centers, but nothing yet. So we'll see. But I'm going to send some good juju out there.
There you go. Well, be careful when you're visiting the mountains. A friend of mine, Greg Ogles, is actually premiering in the Smokies this weekend, filmed a movie called Vanished. And there's been a lot of people vanish from the national parks. So
that is true.
Be careful if you're up there. There's still things in those hills. So
that is true. I have heard of those stories, and thank you for the advice. I will take that advice.
Yeah, Missing 411 from another friend of mine. Some great books about people that just disappeared, and the Park Service is like, we don't know anything about it.
Hey, those mountains hold their stories.
It's a lot of terrain out there.
A lot of beautiful land, and only the mountains know.
That's right.
But if you listen, they'll tell you what you need.
Please come back and visit us. You don't have to write the spooky book, but please come back and visit us.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to write the spooky book. Don't get me wrong.
I think I will write the spooky book. Definitely. I will put it on the list for sure.
Okay. All right. Catherine, have a great night. Thank you for allowing us a little bit of your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I so appreciate the opportunity, and I love, sharing the passion with all of your viewers, and I really appreciate it. It's been very fun. Thank you so much.
We are blessed. Thank you. All right. Have a great night, Catherine. We'll talk to you soon.
You as well. Bye.
We say it every week.
Yep.
It goes by so quick. So
I guess Chris took me up on that.
Let me get that in before
Google.
we run out of time here. He said he Googled Turtle Mountain, 110 pounds of limestone crushed.
110 million pounds.
Million, yes. So, wow.
Yep.
That's a lot. So,
yeah.
Well, we enjoyed Catherine. Stay tuned because, we've got another guest coming up. As always, we have two guests. So, we will be right back here on the Sportcat Show.
Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
And welcome back to hour 2 of the Sportcat Show. We have two authors tonight, as pretty much always here lately. And of course, we always have Jen, my beautiful co-host. Our second author tonight, Brad C. Anderson. Well, he is from up in your part of the world there.
I saw that.
Well, he's from Vancouver. My geography's off. I don't know how close that is to you.
It's a ways. It's a little drive.
Well, I can say he ain't from around here. So, and he's written we're going to change gears and go into science fiction here, a little bit of cyberpunk. Brad, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Well,
Pretty
here in the
good.
South is hot.
It's cold here.
Is it? So I take it you're in Canada, Jen. Where
I'm in southern Alberta near Calgary.
Nice. My parents are in southern Alberta near Calgary. So Strathmore.
Oh no way! I'm in Airdrie.
Okay, I know already. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, nothing is close in Canada. A short drive. Nothing is
There's
short drive in
there's a
Canada.
lot of driving.
It's
I
like
could give you a southern thing. You can't get there from here.
you can't get there from here.
She messaged me this morning. She's like, "It's gonna snow," and I'm like, "It's 102 degrees in the damn shade here."
That is
I was like, yeah, they're
ridiculous.
predicting snow for. I don't know if we're gonna get it now. They're saying it's gonna be Saskatchewan and Manitoba that are gonna get
too hot
the
for ice
snow.
cream.
Have it.
We just got rid of our snow. We had like a snowstorm what was it, last week, and it dumped a foot of snow on us. We had a full-on blizzard.
That is ridiculous. You should. I don't know. You should. I don't know. Talk to somebody about that.
I don't know who pissed off Mother
Really,
Nature,
dude.
but we
Yeah,
should
seriously.
banish them.
Figure out who that person is. Tar and feather them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ostracize them. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sits with a
exactly.
cold one here, please.
Get a big wicker man. Get a bunch of logs. Yeah. And some torches.
It's
I
like
know how
a
to solve
giant voodoo doll or
it. Yeah,
something. I
I
don't
know
know.
how to solve your problem. Yeah, I've seen movies.
There
I
you
know how
go.
to solve your problem.
There you go.
Well, Brad, you've written several books. The last one's a little bit of a cyberpunk tale, but tell us about yourself, your books. I know
Sure.
we want to talk about the most recent, but I always love talking about all the other books.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. I'm Brad. I'm a sci-fi author. Amongst other things, I'm also by day I'm a university prof. I teach business courses, so I lure young people to the dark side. By night,
The dark side.
By night I'm a sci-fi guy. I used to work in the biotech industry. My first life was in the sciences. I used to work in the biotech industry. I made drugs for a living, for real. So there you go.
Legal drugs,
Legal
right?
drugs, legal-ish. Yeah. Legal by who's? Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, so that's me. I've written a bunch of sci-fi books. I've written a couple of nonfiction as well, but that's not fun. I've written the sci-fi stuff. Yeah, my most recent one you're talking about is a little bit cyberpunk-ish, and I would agree it is cyberpunk-ish. The one that I wrote before that was kind of it did have horror elements. The one that I wrote before that, I know I'm a big Lovecraft fan. I've read all this stuff, and so I find sci-fi is a great forum to have little Lovecraftian horror elements come in. So a little bit of that with my first book, Do a Tarot. My book Ashme Song is a little bit more cyberpunk. There's no creeping doom in that one, except other people. I don't know if other people can be creeping doom, but yeah, there you go. Yeah, happy. Talked a little bit about everything. Happy to answer questions about whatevs. Yeah.
How do you define the genre cyberpunk? That was the first question I had.
Yeah, that's it's like what's that? The quote about pornography? You know it when you see it. Oh yeah, that's cyberpunk.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. It's okay. So, in my opinion, speaking with full authority for absolutely everyone, in my opinion, so cyberpunk. There's certain elements with the cyberpunk stories. So cyberpunk stories tend to there tends to be sort of like high technology, but it's kind of a gritty, broken society. That's maybe kind of, it's like, a corporation, big gazillionaire corporations run the world, kind of a broken society, but high tech. And the main characters usually tend to be kind of like marginal people, sort of living between the cracks, sort of at the crux between, what's legal and what's not legal. So those are kind of the elements of cyberpunk. So yeah, a gritty kind of broken world, high tech. Yeah, there you go.
It's kind of like a futuristic dystopian sci-fi kind of combo.
Yeah, ish. Like it's. I don't know if it's like a full on. I don't know if it would pass the full on definition of dystopia. I don't know what the full on definition would be, but it's certainly not. It's a world. Cyberpunk is honestly, if you kind of like look around the world today, like we kind of live in a cyberpunk world, right? Big inequalities, massive corporations that kind of seem to run the show. Technology, kind of pervasive everywhere. Things like that. So yeah, it's certainly not a utopian kind of society. But it's those like that setting. That's a great setting to have stories in, because there's lots of sources of conflict and interest and things. You can have some neat characters in there. So yeah.
So did you draw on current events to kind of come up with the AI angle?
It's funny. I was the book Ashme Song, I think, is very, like, if you read Ashme Song, you'd be like, oh, like, Brad must have read the newspaper somewhere in the last 3 months and just written a novel. And I don't write novels that fast. Like I started writing the novel in 2015. And I don't know, like I think maybe a lot of the stuff is maybe timeless. But yeah, you could kind of, yeah. So when I started writing it, AI was just still kind of on the horizon, whereas now it's kind of here. But yeah, it's kind of you could kind of see where things were going. I guess it wasn't like a major leap to extrapolate. You kind of think, especially so writing in sci-fi is hard now because AI exists. We know AI exists, and so like if you're going to write something in the future, everybody who reads science fiction today knows AI is a thing, knows it's super powerful, and so you have to have an explanation for why AI isn't like doesn't run the why do we still have humans doing stuff, right? You kind of have to either have like AI characters, or you have to have some reason why there's still a valid reason for humans to actually do stuff. So you kind of have to whenever you write a science fiction story nowadays, you kind of have to do I have human characters? If yes, why? Like how is it that they're still how can I still write a story?
Do they still have jobs?
Yeah, do they still have jobs, or any purpose? Exactly. So in this story here, the way that I actually kind of worked around that was that on the history of this particular planet, in the deep past, there's this risk with AI that they kind of hit singularity and then they become sentient. And once they become sentient, all of a sudden humans become like ants, and they're super dangerous. Like sometimes these sentient AI will, sometimes they'll be helpful, but sometimes they'll just they're just oh, I need to cannibalize this planet for parts and not care about you, right? So it's super dangerous, and so that happened way back in the past. and so as a result of that, everybody puts locks on AI, so they can only go so advanced, and then they're locked. I'm dying here.
Are you okay?
That's what you get for talking bad about AI.
Oh, I know. It's in my bloodstream.
Well, do you think we should be afraid of AI?
That's a good question. Oh, it's like puberty finally hit for me. I read a really cool book in the last year. It's a nonfiction book. It's called Power and Progress. And so there's this assumption that a lot of people have that all technology is good. Like technology raises all boats. And yeah, there could be disruptions, but over the long term, it's a net benefit. Like there might be some short-term disruptions as jobs are displaced, but long term, everybody's living standards increases. And so the authors of this book, they're actually, they're researchers at a university, they're historians. And they're like, let's look through history to see if that's true. Like, that's an assumption. Like, let's see, does that actually pan out in history? And the answer was that sometimes technology lifts all boats and it improves society, but other times technology enriches a small elite and kind of devastates the rest of the population. And there's certain characteristics of society, of a technology, that kind of bring it down one path versus the other path, right? So the answer is like, hey, should we be scared of AI? It's like, well, if we do it wrong, yeah, and history shows that it is totally possible to do it wrong. And if we do it wrong, then yeah, like this will be bad news. But if we do it right, it could be amazing. And so the book kind of talks about what those characteristics are. Like, what are the characteristics of societies that sort of create these net benefits versus sort of elite capture? So yeah, there we go. If you do it wrong, we should be scared about it. Not a guarantee.
Well, as I always say in one of my other shows, as Americans, we're good at blowing shit up. So of course we will militarize it. So
yeah, I know, right? Try to militarize it. Yeah. In terms of like how do you move things down the right path? So these authors' arguments were, so some of it was the nature of the technology, but it was really like once a new innovation exists, we as a society have choices in how do we develop it and how do we build on it, right? And so what they find is, like, if you build out technology in a way that it improves, so they use some economics terms, the marginal productivity. In other words, like, if I use this, I can do a lot more work. That's super beneficial. Whereas if we develop the technology so that, like, I'm no longer needed, this does the work instead of me, then all of a sudden I'm unemployed, right? And so developing the technology in a way so that it maximizes, or it boosts human activity versus replacing it. That's the kind of thing that lifts all boats. And then it's other little things like inclusive political systems where people can vote and they can actually influence society. Labor unions where labor can actually negotiate en masse with corporations and stuff like that to try to get those benefits. Like those are some of the things that they argued about in their book. So there we go. Make of that what you will.
What is the name of that book again?
It's called Power and Progress. Something like it's like Power and Progress, like 1,000 years of innovation or something like that. It's interesting. It's kind of written for normal people to be able to read. You don't have to be a historian yourself.
Don't have to be scientist or anything to understand it all.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a really good. Like you can see, and like I'm not a historian, but they presented their evidence. I'm like, oh, that seems compelling to me, and the stuff that they're saying makes sense. I could see how that sort of makes sense. Yeah, there you go.
Where'd you come up with the name for Ashme? That's an interesting name.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. I always have like a little naming systems in my book, and so I have no idea why. So I'm always thinking, okay, like science fiction, like you need to have names that are like recognizably names, but there shouldn't be like names that are like 2026 names, right?
Yeah.
Like okay, that's a name, but that's not a common name because like common names evolve over time, right? So what I did with this particular book, so there's a couple of different cultures in this book, and so the culture of the main people that are kind of like the underclass and trying to rise up, the convention that I used for them was I used ancient Sumerian names. So I got on the internet and I found a whole bunch of resources for like ancient Sumerian names. And so like, Ashme is an ancient Sumerian name. Her cousin's name is Ganzer, an ancient Sumerian name. Her grandmother, her name is Melamu, which is an ancient Sumerian name. And then this other culture that's kind of a little bit more assertive and dominant. For them, I used ancient French names. So they're kind of recognizably French. They're not like super foreign, like Mason, Avalon, right? Like, so those are the names for those culture there. I just, again, scoured the internet for like ancient French names from like, you know, the year 1000, like 500 to 1000 and stuff like that. And so that's kind of so I know. So that's kind of how I hacked the naming convention of.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. I did like baby names, list of baby names from different regions and stuff to choose some of my characters' names.
Yeah, sometimes
Except
I've had experiences where, okay, so I'm writing a short story. It's in the future, but it's like maybe 50 years or 100 years in the future. So I'll be like, what's the most popular baby name in 2026? Because that will be like an average name in the whatever 2050, 2070, stuff like that, right? Or so I'll do stuff like that as well. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes that's a fun little thing, fun little rabbit holes to go to. Like, how am I going to come up with a naming convention here that's consistent?
I found this website. I think I've mentioned it before. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it on this show, but it's a name generator, fantasy name generator.
Yes. I've seen that as well. I've used that as well for stories. I totally know what you're talking about. I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, my characters are more fantasy based.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I don't want them to have like, you know, this, you know, fairy general or whatever.
You can't call him
Charlie. Kevin.
Yeah, Charlie.
The centaur named Fred.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's the name of a book right there.
There you go. Centaur named Fred.
Yeah.
They have like a story named Drop Dead Fred, or am I just dating myself?
Yeah, I remember that. I've used that. Oh, I forgot all about that. Thanks for reminding me, because I've used that in the past, but I've forgotten all about it. Because I remember they have like dragon names or elf names or like.
Yeah, they got like they even have like, you know, places, names for places or names for spells that you can come up with.
That's awesome. So. Yeah, thanks for reminding about that, because I'm writing a new story now and I haven't quite settled in on my naming convention. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm gonna go. That's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna go back and just brush the dust off of that one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy what exists on the internet, right? Like just
it is.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, when you're writing fiction, and you've got these two different, basically, what would you call them? Like two different entities in your story, correct? Do you feel that most conflict, real or fictional, is just a collision of good intentions or maybe one-sided views?
I love it. Okay, I love that question. Fantastic question. You know, the true answer is it's complicated. All right. So something that I really tried to show, or I really tried to make kind of the theme of the book Ashme's Song here. Like the story is told through there's two main characters, and they're like one from each culture, right? And I think you could obviously say like one culture is doing bad things to the other culture, right? But when I portray the world through each character's eyes, like you know, they see the world through their lens, right? And like they interpret things through their lens. And even though I think, you know, I'd like readers to like, yeah, this one culture is kind of doing bad things to the other culture. I would like the readers to be able to like, but like I get it, right? Like I get it. I get why they think what they think, and I get why they're making the choices that they make, right?
Yeah.
What they see. A lot of what I focused on, sort of at least in this story, was it sort of really had a lot to do with fear, right? You know, in the one culture that was kind of doing bad things to the other one, like in their history, they've been victims in their history as well. When they first encountered this other culture that they're now doing bad things too, like they got, you know, they were attacked and, you know, innocent people died, and that kind of traumatized them. So it's kind of a trauma response of this culture, right? So the one culture is doing bad things to this other culture, kind of almost out of a trauma response, and just it's like fear, and you know, they tell themselves these stories, and they kind of put the blinders on, like they don't really see what they're doing, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of the conflict between cultures kind of comes down to that, right? Like if you actually talk to people and get to know people, like, you know, like most people are decent, like they're just trying to
Yeah.
get through their day, right? Trying to get through
Yeah.
their day, look after the kids, stuff like that.
Well, it reminded, like, it was, because kind of reminded me of last year, I think it was, or the year before, and we have a giant tank that's in front of our history museum, and it was around Remembrance Day, and I remember driving by there, and my son said, "Mom, when we were in the last World War," and he was talking about, like, because it was Remembrance Day for like
Yeah.
First and Second World Wars. He says, "Were we the good guys or the bad guys?" And I told him, I said, "Well, it depends on which side you're on, because
Yeah.
when, you know, from our perspective, we were the good guys, but from the other side, if we were on the other side of the war, then we would have seen us as the bad guys." And likewise, you know, it's just a matter of perspective and, you know, like
Yeah.
intentions.
Yeah. Perspective, intentions, what you see. As when I was writing this book, one of the things that I research a lot, and I look sort of for a bunch of different sources to just inform my perspective on things. And I found this one book. It was written by, so in Canada, with our, you know, we had our Indigenous population, we call them First Nations. So you know, I was able to read this book written by First Nations, that focused on sort of a series of protests that they had years ago. And I remember, so it was called the Idle No More protests. I don't know if you remember that, Jen, from like a long time ago.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds
Yeah.
familiar, right? And I remember when those protests were going on. So these are First Nations people sort of protesting the government. I remember when those protests were going on. Like I knew that they were happening. I have no idea what it was like. What's this about? Like what does that mean? Idle no more, and what are they protesting? I had no idea. And so I read the book, and all of a sudden I was like, holy crap! I had no idea all this stuff was happening. And I probably learned more about sort of the relationship between Canada and our First Nations people reading that book than I had throughout my entire education. Like by the time I read the book, I was like a middle-aged guy. I'm well educated. I'm ridiculously educated. I've been in school a long time. But yeah, like all that stuff just was not talked about. You're not exposed to it. And I think that's another way that societies allow themselves to commit bad things, is they just, you know, it's things are silenced, right? Like you don't know that this is like there's all this stuff happening. I had no clue because it wasn't in the news, wasn't taught in school. So how the hell would I know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's happening. And because I don't know, I don't make a big fuss about it, and you know, I can be easily led and, you know, do my 9 to 5. So
we kind of go through life with like little blinders on. If it doesn't impact us, we don't tend to notice it too much.
Yeah, it's not impacting me. It's not in my periphery. And so I think that's another way that, that's I think a very common way that, again, societies kind of allow themselves to do things that if anybody knew about it, it'd be like, really? Are we doing, like, is that consistent with our values? Right?
Yeah.
Like you'd ask that question. But because it's not in the news, not educated, it's not impacting our lives, so we don't know about it. We just don't even, it's not even on our consciousness to think about it. It's not even a thing for us to know that we should be thinking about it, right? So, and then the horrors just persist. There you go.
Did you so you said you started writing this in 2015.
Yeah.
Are you seeing things that you wrote about then coming true somewhat?
Yeah.
Like and is it a little scary?
You know, yes-ish. Yes. So here's the thing, like all the things that I was writing about, like, so I started writing in 2015, and I, you know, do a lot of research about what's going on in the world to help. So when I'm world building, like, you know, in sci-fi, you have to build the world. But to build a realistic world, I at least kind of draw off of human history, like, you know, and just, you know, like what do people do? How do things interact? And I kind of use that as inspiration. Like, so I don't, it's like obviously not copy paste because it's science fiction, but it inspires me when I'm world building. And so I do all this research, and okay, I'm trying to, so all the things so yeah, your question. I'm seeing all of these things happen today that are in the book, to the point where I was like, oh man, like if people read my book now, they're going to think I'm totally
Yeah.
like rationalized by what's in the news. I'm like sure, maybe I am or I'm not, but that's like, I wrote this book in 2015, like 10 years ago, before any of this stuff was happening. But here's the thing. A lot of this stuff was happening 10 to 15 years ago, but it wasn't, it wasn't in our face. It wasn't in the news. It was happening, but you'd have to like go to a book. You'd have to like hunt for a book to read about and like learn what's happening in this other country. Whereas it's, I think, sort of escalated to the point today where it's all in our faces now. So whereas like 2015, all this stuff was happening, but you wouldn't necessarily know unless you actually hunted to learn about it.
Well, I know, like, because there's cyclical things that happen, and I mean, you could go back and read a book about a pandemic, and masking and social distancing, and people would read that now and think, oh man, they're talking about the COVID pandemic, but maybe they're talking about the H1N1, the Spanish flu that happened, then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think sometimes people underestimate how long it actually takes to write a book.
Yes.
Like I can't just read the news and like have a book that's on that topic, right? In any reasonable amount of time, right? Like I read the news and like 5 years later, I have a book on that topic, but the world's moved on.
Yeah, well, that's that. I mean, like how many people in like the next 5 to 10 years are going to write books on isolation and social distancing?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
We're going to see them coming out.
We're going to be starting to hit the wave will start to hit us soon.
Yeah, give it a couple more years.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's funny.
I love how Jen put that with the kids, because we often forget about things seen through the children's eyes. And, it's a very valid question. But one of the books, when you were talking about not learning about things growing up, my generation in America, we didn't learn a lot about the Vietnam War.
Right.
And one of the most impactful books I ever read was by the soldiers, called Letters Home from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And in Jen's perspective, now that I'm older, those were kids too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right?
And it gives you a total different view, almost, I won't say 180, but it's not through the rose-colored glasses that we think it is.
No, I know. And that's interesting as well. Like that you're not taught a lot about the Vietnam War. Like when it was from like the early 60s to the late 70s. Like that was like a long time of America's history, and like tens of thousands, 50,000, like so many of your soldiers, and that's not a thing that we talk about so much. That's interesting.
And likewise with like the Korean War, and that was almost like a decade before then.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's I think there's something to be learned by paying attention to what a society does not talk about. I know. I think I think there's something you can learn from that. I don't know what, but I think there's something you can learn from that. They like, let's just not talk about that anymore.
Who said it? I can't remember who said it, but if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I don't think we tend to listen very well.
No. No, I know. I think a lot of times in school, history is presented very boringly. I know. I suspect it's probably presented very boringly. I remember when I took history in school, I'm like, this is boring. But then I don't know, maybe it's when you're older. Because I read some history books and I'm like, this is bonkers. Like if I wrote this as a novel, everybody would be like, oh, you're like this is too make believe. This is too. I'm like, no, this actually happened. Like, holy crap! Like real life is bonkers.
I think that unless you have a purpose to remember it, because I think I went through going through high school, learning the history about like the Cold War, for example, and stuff, and I was like, all I need to do is just memorize these for the tests, and then I can forget it tomorrow. And, but I mean, it didn't have there was no reason in my mind to learn it. It was not applicable to my life, but it's still important. It's because it's where we came from and lessons that were learned.
It is. And maybe that's why, like, when you're older and you sort of look
Mhm.
at history, because when you're older, you have more context, like you're more
Yes.
aware of what society is like now. And then you read the
Yeah.
history and you're like, oh, that's like,
You start seeing the parallels
no
as
idea.
you get older. Yeah.
Yeah,
The more history you live through,
yeah.
that there's things that are happening. Somebody told me within 50 years, if something occurred within 50 years, it's considered current history.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in high school when they were talking about the Kosovo
Oh, yeah,
wars.
yeah.
And they were calling that current history. And so I remember I learned a lot about that because it was happening at that moment.
Yeah, you're like, that's not current history. That was in my life.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Give it another 30 years, it won't be current history anymore.
Yeah, it'll be history.
That's so scary. Makes me feel old.
Some of my friends are, a friend is an instructor at FDNY Fire Academy. And just recently, like within the past 2 years, they had an entire academy of recruits come through that didn't know about 9/11.
Wow. Mind blow.
Really?
Yeah.
That is crazy. Of course,
Okay.
they taught them in the academy, but it was like, oh, well, that's back then. Who cares?
Yeah, that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, they're teaching that to my kid. Like my youngest, who's 9, he's in grade 4, and he come home and he says, "Mom, I read this book about 9/11, and we're learning about it in school." And I'm just like, that's good. So to me, that just blows my mind that there's people that are older than him that don't know about it.
That's great.
I wonder if with today's technology, I wondered if it had to do with the printing of the textbooks. Like, I was born in 67, so by the time I got to, pre-K, I was 73, 74. So maybe they hadn't had time to do the textbooks, but I would have thought by 9/11 that they would have had time to.
Yeah. Well, what was that?
Especially
that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, can't believe it.
Yeah. That's kind of.
I mean, like they do. September comes around and they've got it all over the TV, and they're doing like memorials and stuff. So it blows my mind that people wouldn't even know that, and that's not even that long ago.
No,
you don't know about it if you're on TikTok, I guess. Or
I guess, yeah. I know that always gets me going, right? Like 70% of Gen Z gets their news from TikTok. I'm like, TikTok's not a news source. It's an advertising algorithm. Like, dude.
Yeah, it's for people to dance or something. I don't know. So I see a lot of people dancing on it. Yeah. I was going to ask you, so your character has these abilities.
Yeah.
That, give them a potential advantage.
Yeah.
But they don't use violence to communicate. Like, they don't use violence. They choose not to.
A little bit, yeah. Okay, so her.
I don't want to give it away. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go for it. Yeah, like her special ability. Again, science fiction, sci-fi world. And again, I kind of connected, like earlier on, I kind of said, like, in the history of this planet, they had these super AI that was like super scary. One of the unfathomable things, like how do you understand like a god, right? So one of the unfathomable things these sentient AI did is they sort of modified the DNA of certain people, and then they left. They sort of got on a big rocket ship and went to another star. That's what these super AI did. And these little DNA tweaks that they did, it allows these individuals to be able to control technology basically at a distance, right? So like through their own will, through their own body, like they just have this connection with the technology of the world, right? So they're incredibly, the computer programmers, computer hackers, like they just have this innate ability to just connect and meld with technology and just do whatever they want with it, right? Which is a powerful skill, and that's like so the main character is Tension, is so her world, her society is kind of devolving down into civil war, right? Mm-hmm. And she's sort of torn between like should she, you know, stand up and fight for her society, or, you know, like she has a brother, she has a twin brother who has special needs, and she's kind of his main caretaker, right? So like she's torn, like she wants to, like she has this special ability, she wants to fight for her people, like her people have suffered, she wants to fight for her people so her people can be free. But she also has this young brother who she needs to kind of take care of, and she's like, should I, you know, sort of just pawn him off on somebody and become this, you know, freedom fighter, or should I like forego becoming a freedom fighter and just take my brother and get out of the country, right, and like become a refugee someplace, take him to safety? So I wanted to explore that tension, right? And say to kind of create that tension, like she has this special gift, so she's not just like some rando on the street, like she could actually be a meaningful like force for her side in this particular conflict. But she's got this brother, and so yeah, you're asking like so that's kind of the tension throughout is what should she do, or that's like she wants to do one thing, but she kind of feels obliged to do this other thing, and it's like, how does she wrestle with that? Like it sort of explores, what does it actually mean to be a hero? If you want to know, so the actual impetus for the story, 2015, it was the Syrian refugee crisis, and at that time, Syrians, Syria has devolved into civil war, and Syrians are like 6 million of the Syrians are like flooding into other countries as refugees. And on the news of certain political persuasions, they'd like show these refugees, and they'd show all these young men in these lines of refugees, and the political commentators would be, why are these young men coming to our country as refugees? They should be staying home and fighting for their country, right? And on the one hand, like, yeah, you need somebody to stand up and fight for what's right. But on the other hand, like, if your society is falling down in a civil war, like, is it any less heroic to like get your family, just get the hell out of there? Like what's like is one more heroic than the other? Like, I don't think it's an easy choice. And so that was the like, that's a story, I'm gonna tell that story. And that's kind of the birth of Ashme's song, is that tension. So
is that like the theme of your story, is like family and choices?
Yeah. It's really, it sort of explores. So that'd probably be the main theme, like family and choices, like choosing between your values, right? And I try to set it up so that it is compelling, like you do need people to stand up and fight for what's right, but you also need people to take their family and get the hell out of there. And I really wanted to explore that. I'd say that's probably the main. There's a couple other themes that you can kind of knock around in there as well, but that was really the main tension that sort of drove the main character's arc.
I like it.
Yeah.
And because I seem to recall hearing before that you had said, so there was something about the title, it meant something, as Ashme's song.
Yeah. Okay, that's a cool question as well. Yeah. So Ashme's song, like on the one hand, it just, yeah, you're on a roll. Yeah, on the one hand, like Ashme's song just sounds like it sounds like a book title. It sounds like a thing you'd name your book. But as it goes on, so her brother has special needs, and one of the characteristics of this particular syndrome that this guy has is that he does have sort of mental deficits. He has some physical deficits as well. But one of the quirks of this syndrome is that people who have this particular syndrome kind of become like musical geniuses. Like they're just drawn to music. They have like, you know, perfect pitch with their singing. They can just like they're physically, they have a tough time like with manual dexterity doing stuff. But all of a sudden you give them a guitar and they can figure out how to play it, and they can play the piano. So they're kind of like these really musical people, right? And so as the story progresses, right? So Ashme's song, that sounds like the title of a book. As you get to know the characters, as you get to know, this one character, like music is the central element of this one character's sort of joy and existence, right? And Ashme is this guy's sister. And so it's kind of like Ashme's song is sort of plays on that connection, right? And then as I won't give it away either, but sort of as that goes on, as the story unfolds, and this brother character has certain experiences and certain revelations, all of a sudden music takes on it's not just music, it sort of takes on this deeper symbolic meaning for this particular character. And all of a sudden, so yeah, like I think by the end of the book, there's like 3 layers. If you wanted to, I don't know. If you wanted to, you could sort of put on these 3 layers onto the title Ashme song. Like, it's just a cool name. Oh, hey, like it has to do with the brother's sort of love for music and the love for his sister. And then by the end, you're like, oh, there's this sort of deeper sort of symbolic meaning as well for music to this one character. And that kind of lays onto the title as well. So, but that's only if you really want to nerd out. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I do. I do the same thing. I have like multiple meanings for my titles, so that's why it's so. Sometimes it's hard to find the title that kind of covers it, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know until the end. I don't know. I never know what my books titles are until the end, really.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. How do you come up with titles? What's your secret sauce?
It has to be something like I have to come up with something that has to do with the actual book and what's happening in that story, but also something relative to the character and the struggles that they're going through. So, I mean, the first 3 books that I had were pretty easy to figure out for me. My first 3 titles, but my 4th book was really difficult. And then when you're going through this list and you make this list and like, no, that's the one, and it just you just know it. What is it? Right? What is it you had said before? I can't remember. It's like
how do you define pornography? Like I don't know how to define it.
You'll know it when you see it. Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah. No, I find the naming characters and naming books is kind of a fun little thing, and you can kind of go down all sorts of little rabbit holes with it sometimes, I find. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like there's a feel of, there's like I don't know, it's like an impression that you get from, somebody was named Jessica versus Esther. You get this different feel for them, the name is, it's more than just a rose, right?
It's true. Yeah. There's certain like biases and perceptions that kind of get layered on top of that. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
One thing you talked about a second ago in the book was off-world. Do you believe in like UFOs and off-world and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's fun. I believe that we as a species totally have the potential to be living off-world, like we kind of do it right now with the International Space Station. And I think if we don't screw ourselves up too bad over the next little while, like those capabilities would only expand. So I could totally believe that we have the capabilities to be an off-world species ourselves. Aliens, I have trouble believing that so it's like I have like how do you define alien? Like I have trouble believing that the universe can be as large as it is, and like life is like we're the only life. Like that's it, right?
It's an awful waste of space.
That's a huge waste of space. Like wow, it's a huge waste of space. You're right. It almost makes me think that we would be like a mistake if if there's like nothing over everywhere, and then all of a sudden like whoop,
that'd give us all a complex. So
yeah, totally. That's not supposed to happen. So yeah, I would have trouble believing that a universe this big, like there isn't life anywhere else. Now, usually when we think about like aliens and UFOs, it would be like intelligent life that can actually travel around, and I could make an argument that I could convince myself that although life might be common, like intelligent life intelligent enough to be able to like actually become off-world themselves might be super rare. And I don't know if we're the only one, but it might be rare enough that for all intents and purposes, we might be the only one. For all intents and purposes, that's like intelligent enough to be able to like build a rocket.
What if we're the dumb ones, though?
Or maybe we're the dumb ones,
That's
right?
why we didn't. That's why nobody's coming to visit or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Those goldfish are over there.
They're not talking to us because it's like communicating with toddlers.
Sometimes, like when I think about it, like all right, so they've taught gorillas sign language, right? And so we can actually have conversations with gorillas. But it's sort of like an interesting bit of trivia that I always find really neat is that even though we've taught gorilla sign language and we've had conversations with them for like years and years and years and years, like a gorilla has never asked a human being a question, right? Like it's just like like in order to ask somebody a question, you need to think like this person is different than I am and they know something different than what I know. And gorillas don't seem to have that wired in. And it just seems like wouldn't you like you're in this jungle and now you're in this like cage, like wouldn't you be curious like, hey, how did you make this cage, what's this invisible,
it's like why am I here,
I here, right? Like it seems like there'd be questions, right? And one is like they like say like their brain, like they don't even know to ask, like their brain just isn't even structured to conceive of that a question is something that you could even do. But then I also probably think like they probably don't even recognize that the road that we've created is not a part of the world, all right? Like they just exist in this world and there's trees and there's other apes and blah, blah, blah. And there's this road and they probably just like, they don't necessarily think that like, oh, a human being made that out of nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And which makes me, you think like, okay, like if apes are that close to us and they have those limitations that we can clearly see, like, again, like it doesn't take much to sort of extrapolate. What if something was like 2% different than us, higher than us, and like we wouldn't even be able to like an ape can't even conceive that a question is something that you could do. What are we unable to conceive is a thing that we could do because of whatever limitations we have. And an ape just thinks like the world and the window, that's this invisible force field, is just this natural part of the world. Like what do we think is part of the natural world that possibly isn't, right? So yeah, like to your point, Glenn, like we could be surrounded by aliens and we just don't even have the brain structure to be able to recognize it or to think to ask. Asking questions isn't the right phrase, but to do whatever the thing is that we can't even conceive.
Maybe so okay, I'm going somewhere with this, but
I'll go over it.
My kids being on the spectrum, one of the things that they didn't do is they didn't go through that milestone stage where they're like, why, how, when, asking a million questions. Yeah. Instead, I got hypothetical scenarios. Okay. Like my son, who was 4 years old, he never asked me questions. My oldest, when he was 4, he never asked questions. And so he'd be sitting there in the car one time and I'm driving home and then he says, whales live in the water, in the oceans, but they breathe air. Maybe there's caves down there with air in them. So maybe they're not asking questions because they're just really deep thinkers and they've already figured it out.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. They're like, you have nothing to offer me.
Yeah. I don't need to ask you because I already know.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you any question.
And we're the ones that we're like, we don't know. We need to ask.
Yeah. Because you think about it, like we don't ask 3-year-olds anything, right? Because we're like, you got nothing to offer me, kid. Whereas like maybe that's what gorillas are for us. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I think that also too, we also are looking at the gorilla situation, for example, from a human perspective. And yes, they're they're not that far, but just because humans ask questions doesn't mean that gorillas learn that way.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's very human centric. We do tend to look at things from our own perspectives and stuff. I did have a question though about like related to your kind of your ideology with your story there. At what point because they alter this DNA and stuff for protection, but at what point does protection cross over into oppression? I know. Yeah, I know.
You knew I was going to ask that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's and again, I wouldn't say like that's the main theme, but it's certainly something that I kind of explore with that. With the main society is very much they feel they're acting out of self-defense, right? But like honest, like but they're like so it's like an MMA fighter acting out of self-defense with like a 6-year-old kid. Like that's overkill. Like, right? Like you're like,
Yeah.
like, all right, that's overkill, right? But that's a fantastic question that I kind of explore.
Yes!
Or I think
3
it's
for
worth
3.
exploring. Yeah. It's like, yeah, when does protection kind of trip over into what was it that you called it, like into
oppression? I think about it like from the perspective of a parent, because I'm a parent, but I'm telling my kids, no, you can't go to the park because it's dangerous and I can't go with you. But then at some point, I'm stunting their, social growth, their freedom, and just to protect them. At what point is there is there a point?
Yeah, I you know what, I think there is a point. There is a point where you and it's like, it's not obvious, it's not people suddenly go bad, but it's like they overdo it, right? They kind of let the fear take over.
It's again intentions, right?
Yeah,
Comes back to
intention. It's intention. Like the fear takes over, right? The fear takes over, and when you're scared, you're not making reasonable, rational decisions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you let the fear like at some point, like fear is a very rational response. At some point, though, it's like you got to sort of like let's stop for a minute and like wow, do I still need to be afraid, or have I it's like when you're punching somebody when they're down, right? And you're like, okay, dude, you've won. Like dude, it's okay. You've
Make
won.
sure they don't fight again. That's why you're doing it again. You're setting that.
Yeah. But I think it can totally trip over into oppression. And I think that is part of what makes a lot of problems so perniciously difficult, because a lot of times people are acting out of like very reasonable fears, but at some point you're like, I protected myself. Like at some point, objectively, you've protected yourself, and now you're going too far. But when you're in the moment, you don't know that. Like objectively, that might be true. But your subjective experience.
But even if you take the emotion aspect out of it, logically, and you just use straight up logic and stuff, there's still like, again, when does that protection? Because yes, it could be dangerous. My kids could get hit by a car. There's all these potentials, and statistically, I'm just using that as an example. I do let my kids go to the park.
But those are all like the most. I think the most pernicious problems. Like what makes problems so like it's like when you actually really try to genuinely solve problems, not just try to win, but try to solve a problem. I think what often makes it so perniciously difficult is that when you actually stop and you look at the other perspective, like there's truth in there. Like there's truth in that. Like there is truth that like the park is dangerous and things could happen and you aren't there. Like there is a truth in that.
Yeah.
So you can't just say like, oh, that's poppycock. Like, grow up. Like there's truth in that, and it's not black and white, right? You're like, oh, okay, how do we balance this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I don't.
I know there's no answer to it, right?
No, there isn't. There's no answer to that.
One thing we always try and ask our guests is, do you believe in the paranormal? Ever seen Bigfoot, stuff like that?
I totally believe that there's more in the universe than we understand or know about. I'm totally with that. Whether that's the classical,
that's a very safe answer.
That's a very safe answer. I'm like whether that's the classic like ghost down the hall and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. But I totally there's like we don't know what's going on. It's an illusion that we know what's going on. So I could totally see that there is stuff going on that I don't know what the answer. Our normal rules don't explain that. How's that? Our normal rules don't explain that.
Yeah. There's no explanation for that. I'm just going to put it away until there is. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that,
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are like you were talking about a minute ago. Some people aren't even programmed to think about it, so it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Catch up the comments here real quick. Chris says the majority of our planet thought back in the day having transportation, like on the Jetson, was our goal for technological advancement. I can't see those experts developing the internet. No. And then he said it all has to be alien technology. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't figure it out on ourselves. It has to be somebody else.
Like, have you met people? We're stupid. Like,
maybe that's what our government's going to do, blame everything on the aliens. And what not?
Yeah.
It's aliens.
I don't know.
They're the scapegoats, and that's why they haven't talked to us yet. They don't want to be scapegoats.
One guy we interviewed said, have you ever thought if we were the intergalactic prisoners they didn't want on the other planets and they put us here?
I know. Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
That's like that takes the panspirit, what is it called?
Panspermia.
Yeah, there we go. That takes that to a whole new level.
Yeah.
That's more like Siberia.
Yeah. They're like, let's put this guy on the planet with like influenza and mosquitoes.
Yeah. See what happens, you know. We might have to come back and like harvest their immunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brad, we are live in Australia. Do you have any Australian information or anything?
I got no Australian information. Put another shrimp on the Barbie. Like what's I don't know anything more about Australia than what you would know, or than what like Australians would be able to. I'm a big
they
fan
got big spiders. They got spiders down there.
But I've never boxed a kangaroo in my life. I've never boxed in my life. I suspect.
I heard they're like deer. They just sort of don't. You just avoid them.
Yeah, that's my
There was a video on Facebook back during the fall, and it had to be AI. I'm going with it was AI. It was albino kangaroo with red eyes at this person's back door with their hands like up on the sliding glass drawer, and you could just read their lips like, come on out here.
You're so tough behind that invisible force field. Come on out here.
It's like me the day I woke up to go to school. I opened the door. There's like 4 feet of snow and the imprint of the. I'm like, I'm not going to school today.
Yeah,
not going out there.
That's right. Brad, where can we find your stuff? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you betcha. Probably the easiest would be to just start on my website, bradanderson2000.com. That's got links to everything else, all the stories that I've written, things like that. That'd probably be start there and follow whatever social media you're on. You can tag me there and follow me there, and that's a good spot. bradanderson2000.com. Easy to remember.
There you go. And it will be in the show notes for anybody that doesn't have a pen and paper. Do you have another book coming out or working on one? Or
I'm totally working on one. I kind of like to tell people it's a cross between Conan the Barbarian and Dune. So that's what I'm working on now. But I'm a slow writer, so it's going to take a while before that gets
like
out.
5, what is it, like 10 years?
Yeah, 5, 10. I'm like maybe halfway through that now, so it's getting close there. I'm almost.
You'll hate me when I tell you I wrote my first rough draft for my first book in 2.5 months.
Oh man, I wish I could do that.
I was on a roll and the ideas were pouring out, and I wrote my second one in 2.5 weeks.
Lord, I got to figure out how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
I type really fast. It's my hyper focus. I'll forget the world exists and I'll just write.
I'm not hyper focused. That's maybe my problem. I'm diffusely focused.
My mind is like a steel sieve. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brad. Well, thank you. And let's not make it 10 years before you come back.
Yeah, no, you guys, this is fun. You guys always have great questions, so I love it.
We try. Yeah, and I keep getting these hot co-hosts, so it helps too. So
yeah. It's not hopefully the snow will thaw soon.
Yeah, well, we don't have any right now. I mean, there's probably some patches and like shady spots and stuff, but fingers crossed it doesn't hit anywhere else.
Winter be over. Let's do
yes. Ice cream. It's just gonna skip spring and go straight to summer.
Yeah, amen to that.
Too hot for ice cream in the South. Good Lord. All right, and Chris says, Jen's great questions. stat tonight was probably even better than her coyote snowball strike.
Well, considering I didn't hit them with the snowballs, that's pretty good. I was not trying to. I was just trying to scare. I was talking about before because we have coyotes out here, and they come into the city, and there's not enough rabbits to feed them or something. But when I was walking home, and it was dark, and it was like kind of wintry, and they were following me home, and I was throwing snowballs at them to try to get them away because they weren't scared of me at all.
No, they coyotes do not scare. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Awesome. PETA, do not at me, please.
Yeah.
Brad, have a great night. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that you guys had me. It's always a blast, and we'll be in touch, guys.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
We'll talk to you soon, Brad.
Cheers.
Bye. He is a blast.
Yeah, so much fun.
He is. All right, so before we get too carried away, I need you to get your plug in to all of our listeners. How can they get in touch with the wonderful, beautiful J.M. Shaw and buy our books?
You're going to give me a big head. Start with my website, jmshawauthor.com. You can find the descriptions of my books. You can find links to my books. They're available on Amazon as a print. They're all on Kindle. The first 2 are in Kobo. The next couple will be eventually. And then if you can follow me, Facebook and Instagram, my links are on the bottom of my website, so you can see when my next one's coming out.
There you go. And I sent that to Chris, the Chicago Rats on the field during the games. That was great. During the baseball game. Let's see. Next week, I had it pulled up here. Danny Henderson, Popcorn and Moonshine. I'll just leave it at that. And then
more Moonshine.
Guttenwiller. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah,
But she's going to be on talking about, she writes at the...
This is the one you were thinking about last week.
Yes.
Yeah, this is exactly the one you were thinking about last.
I emailed him and apologized again. I really did. I felt horrible. So yeah.
Well, mistakes happen, and there's a lot of words are hard late at night.
Words are really hard for me. You're right. Oh Lord. We will be back next Monday with the Daily Gazette, Sportcat's Daily Gazette. Tomorrow you can find me on the Thin Line Rock Station, www.thethinlinerockstation.com from noon until 2. Playing some rock and roll music. I'll dedicate something to Jen over there. And then, of course, Jen and I will be back next week with 2 more guests. So we got the cranking out. And then the week after that, I'm going to the beach. So
nice.
With all of you. I'm out of here. Mrs. Sportcat said, "You're going to the beach." So, okay, if you insist.
You need a vacation.
I do need a vacation. I want to thank our chat. Chris, KG, you're always great. There was a couple other in there. They didn't really say much, but don't be shy. Come in here. She's hot, but she doesn't bite.
Hard.
We always, she'll just shoot you with an airsoft. We always welcome or run over you with her, what is it?
Prius. Hey, don't knock it until you drive it. I fill up with gas once a month.
Everybody have a great night.
Night.